I was at Rush Hospital, and when I walk down the hallways, I always look at the bulletin boards to see if there's studies, because I can always use extra money. So I saw this one question, it was 3 questions. It said, do you smoke? And I'm like, yeah, I do. It says, do you enjoy smoking? I'm like, yeah, I do. And the last question is, do you not want to quit smoking? I go, yeah, that's me. I love smoking. I enjoy it.
I finally decided to try again. Not to try. This time I wasn't going to try to quit. I made a decision to quit.
I finally made a decision after I had my beautiful twin girls, who are now 6 years old, that I had to give up cigarettes for good.
So I was very intrigued and called thinking I'll make some extra money, because when you smoke, you need extra money. They're very expensive.
I did not smoke when I was pregnant, of course, but I did go back to having two to three cigarettes a day after they were about 4 months old, which another stroke of genius.
So I call this number and I tell them I want to be part of this study. And when I go there, I meet a group of people, and I met Carol. I had no idea what I was in store for. I did not honestly know that this was to quit smoking. Because had I would have never done it, because I didn't want to quit smoking. I love smoking.
I decided that was 2 or 3 too many a day. And if I want to stay alive and watch my daughters grow up and let them have a mother in their life, that I was going to need to do this for me, for them, for my family.
So Carol explained to me that this was going to be a support group and that we were going to quit smoking. And I really couldn't believe it at first, but I was like, how positive she was, and she never went on and on about how bad smoking was for us. She wanted to help us learn the ways to quit, which were absolutely awesome.
So I decided to join Carol's class because I thought maybe I could use some help, some support from someone who knew what they were doing, and it was the best decision I ever made.
So I signed up and I went, and I chose a quit date, and I stuck to it.
I go in and it's Carol Southard's class, and she's just wonderful. And she gave me some really good advice. I was a heavy smoker, so instead of using 1 patch, she told me to use 2.
Not only do you have a support group and you have someone there who's running this group, who is not judgmental, who is not at all, she doesn't come down on you. She just understands the problem. She's there to help you fix it, and she gives you a lot of information and a lot of tools to take with you.
And after about 2 weeks, she gave us a quit date.
I went in there totally not expecting to quit.
And the quit date, it was a committal date, and there was no going back.
The first couple classes you don't quit, and then it comes to quit day. And
So it got to be kind of a part of my life. That when I did want to smoke, I just thought of what she said.
I'm thinking I'm not going to do this, but I did.
And somehow it worked, and I can't explain why it worked, but it was just her forcefulness as to how to do it.
And I remember saying goodbye to my cigarettes at a Halloween party. I was sort of outside in the cold.
And on Monday I started really feeling crazy, and so I remember I emailed Carol.
She's always there for us. She was there available by email, by phone. If I ever was having a really bad day, I'd call her and just tell her that I really wanted a cigarette and could I just have one, and things like that. And
I told her that I was going to make it until 5 o'clock. This was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I decided that if I waited until 5 o'clock, I could have a cigarette, and then I would do a gradual cessation program, if you will, just reducing my frequency of smoking.
She told me, if you want a cigarette, wait 1 minute, and the urge will go away. And I thought, no, it won't. But it does, and it gets easier every day.
Carol called me immediately, and she said, Christy, smoke a cigarette.
Like at work, I would go out this one door all the time to smoke. So when I first quit, I had to avoid that door.
And I said, no, Carol, I want to wait until 5 o'clock. I think I can. And she says, no, smoke it now. I don't want you rewarding yourself with a cigarette.
But 4 months later, I can go out that door and I'm fine. But I definitely stayed away from that door. I was petrified to go out that door because I knew that's where I would go to smoke.
She called in a prescription for Chantix that afternoon. I filled it that night. I took Chantix. I took 2 Chantix, and I lost my desire to smoke.
I guess everybody knows that smoking is bad for you, but it's very easy to say. But when you actually know the specifics.
3 or 4 people within the class who actually had a difficult time, and they had emphysema and cancer, and they still smoked.
About what cigarettes do to you, why you feel the way you do when you smoke, what exactly goes on in your body.
So for us to be in that class with them, and it just didn't make sense to us to keep smoking when they were in fact obviously in deep trouble.
That's the beauty about Carol. She's so non-judgmental, and she uses an intervention that is designed to deal with the addiction so that we can deal with all of the other relational aspects that we have with cigarettes.
The next thing I knew, it was like, a couple days later, and I'm still not smoking.
And so the next day, I was driving back from my friend's house back to Chicago, and I had my last cigarette, and that was November 1st, 2009.
She understands smokers. She understands, I think, smokers better than we understand ourselves.
So I celebrated a year recently, and it's been wonderful.
Well, there is no way, and I mean this sincerely and absolutely, that I could have possibly done that without Carol.
I would have never, been able to do it without Carol at Northwestern.
Because she was just absolutely phenomenal.
She's my smoking cessation angel, that's what I always call her.
Answers to your questions,
We're still in touch. I talk to her all the time.
solutions to your, sticky points.
I walked away.
Carol Southard's program through Northwestern, which was through Swedish Covenant Hospital, actually helped me and my wife walk away from smoking.
And there is no way I could have done it without her, and I thank her every time I talk to her.
I was able to walk away because of Carol Southard's program at Northwestern.